some suggested changes. For anybody else that needed to do that, we'll consider the minutes approved as. And next on the agenda is our treasurer's report.
Not a heck of a lot of changes. I wanted to thank Lover for getting information from the county. That's really the only amount that's really changing our balance at the bank is remain the same amount of funds. But the county balance is $291, and my understanding is the bill that's leader. Well, at least one person.
That's one of the advantages of not being a department. If it had been a department, they would have had to budget and money all over again. So
Guy, can I have confirmation on the amount? $176.90.
okay, the next item on the agenda is item number 7 and is a guest speaker. This is Brianna Colgrove, sophomore at North Coast Preparatory Academy. And she's going to be speaking to us on the subject of pronouns, the usage, and the background. And now Sanine has just joined us.
Okay.
Now, do I need? Are you all set up?
Yeah, I just got longer. But
Okay.
they're back three.
So you need to, instance that it's not able measures. It's disabled.
I'm going to be out of my tech element here.
You just want to make her a co-host or give her permission.
Yeah. But participant.
Just, I thought I did that already.
Oh,
Maybe not. Brianna, make co-host. Okay. Okay. Is that all I need to
I
do?
think so.
Looks like it is.
All right.
Great.
That's good.
Okay.
Sorry about that.
Okay.
All right.
Welcome.
Thank you. I'm Brianna Colgrove. My pronouns are she, they, and he. I go to North Coast Prep, like I said, Humboldt Harbor member. I started this project because for my mom's work at UHS, she would always ask me questions relating to like pronouns and gender identity. And it just like happened so many times that it just became more convenient to make it into a presentation. So for her work and then to a lot of other places since then. It's just,
You speak up a bit.
yeah. My presentation is just, I like thought of all these questions that I would be asked for my mom and that are just commonly asked when talking about the subject. And I put the questions on the slides and I answered them. And as I continue to present the presentation, I would constantly get asked the same questions afterwards. So those have since been added. And there is room for questions at the end of this one. This is my intro to pronouns. So first of all, what are pronouns? Pronouns are words to refer to a person without using their name. The 3 most common ones are he, him, she, her, and they, them. There's also neopronouns, neo meaning new, and these can be used instead of the 3 more common pronouns. Some examples are like sie, them, and it, its. What is cisgender? Cisgender is when a person identifies with their sex assigned at birth. An example is someone who is assigned as male at birth and who identifies as male, or someone who is assigned female at birth, identifies as female. What is transgender? Transgender is an umbrella term for anybody who does not identify with their sex at birth. The example is someone who is assigned female at birth, but identifies as a man or non-binary or gender fluid or anything else that's not female. What is non-binary? This one was asked quite a lot after presentations. And non-binary is one of the many identities that falls under the transgender umbrella. It's when you're neither male or female. So like, or neither in the male or female binary, it's labeled non-binary. The term non-binary typically implies the pronouns they, them, but sometimes a non-binary person goes by they, she, or they, he. It's all up to preference, I guess. And what is gender fluid? Gender fluid is yet another term that falls under the transgender umbrella. This refers to people who embrace a much more adaptable and fluid gender identity. Some gender fluid people express their pronouns differently based on how they feel day to day. And these are often displayed with like a sticker with their pronouns, or like sometimes color-coded bracelets, like or bracelets that have the pronouns. It's really anything. And some just use any pronouns. It's just, yeah. What is Two-Spirit? Two-Spirit is a term that encompasses Indigenous LGBTQ plus people. Everything has a spirit, all of which are either masculine or feminine. And Two-Spirit is when somebody or something contains a spirit of both male and female, or at least plays a role that a male and female would play. Those who are two-spirited have traditionally been looked up to as spiritual leaders. Why are pronouns important? Pronouns hold a lot of significant meaning for a lot of people who are not cisgender. Using a transgender person's correct pronoun can help to make them feel valued and respected. Pronouns are used in our everyday language, so it's just a really simple way to be inclusive and help others feel comfortable about who they are. How can you ask a person what their pronouns are? Some simple ways to ask about a person's pronouns are by introducing yourself. My name is Brianna, and my pronouns are they, she, and he. I use any pronouns. What are your pronouns? Or you can just ask them, hey, what pronouns do you use? Or if you were in a group of people, you could ask to go around the room and have everybody share their pronouns, which is my favorite because it's just a lot easier to say your own pronouns, but everybody else's as well. Why it's helpful to display your pronouns as a cisgender person. It makes it feel a lot safer for non-cis people to display their pronouns, and it helps to create a more inclusive environment. Even if you think it's like obvious what your pronouns are, it's nice for other people to feel more comfortable. What could the process of figuring out your gender identity look like? It's different for everybody. It's really hard to say what exactly it's supposed to look like. It can be just from experimenting with different styles, from masculine to feminine, or it could just be from like a gut feeling. So it doesn't have to be a serious matter. It's just a matter of doing what makes you feel comfortable, which doesn't always mean labels like non-binary or gender fluid or those things that I was talking about before. I'm just gonna go back real quick. Because for me, my pronouns are they, she, he. Usually I'll introduce myself, say I use any pronouns. And so technically if someone were to ask what my label was, I would tell them that I was gender fluid, but really I prefer to not use that just because for me personally, I just like don't like the term itself. So, and it doesn't mean I'm confused, it just means I prefer to not use that as a label. Our pronouns is trend. Technically, yes. Well, pronouns have always been used, obviously. Learning about certain people using different pronouns hasn't always been normal. And normalizing it or making it a trend to talk about different gender identities and being transgender is great to educate cisgender people, help transgender people continue to figure themselves out by exposing them to new ideas and helping people feel comfortable about having these types of conversations. What's the difference between sex and gender? Sex is biological. There are three sexes: male, female, intersex. And gender is due to human interaction. Leave me a good LGBTQ plus ally. Always include your pronouns in bios online. Always respect other people's pronouns and just be open to educating yourself. You don't have to be over the top to show support. You just have to be willing to learn new things and be okay with being wrong. That's it.
I really like how you say be okay with being wrong. A lot of social justice is just about that, believing whether you actually think it's correct or not until you realize the better understanding. I think that's really great. You said other pronouns. One of them was them. And do you mind explaining that a little?
Yeah, I mean, it's one of the, it's like, sometimes people don't feel like she or they or he like fit them. So they'll come up with new pronouns. Them is just one of the most like neutral ones, I guess. It's not like, I don't know exactly how to, I mean, I don't use this pronoun or, but it's just like, an even more neutral way than they, that, the.
Yeah, in terms of like utilizing it in conjugation, it's just like they, them, the see in front of it. That's really all you need to know about it.
But I want to know how the identity.
You would have to ask the individual person because it's going to be different from person to person. Because not every, even if someone is of like a trans or queer identity, that doesn't mean that they align with the pronouns you think they would. There's no way to ask. I mean, I guess you could literally ask all people who use this pronoun, why? But I don't know. It would be a varied response.
And some people use those pronouns and also like they, them, or either, it's like it could be
With
other ones, yeah.
okay, cool, thank you.
This is new to me, relatively so anyway. And I'm very interested, but I'm concerned about making mistakes.
Right.
And if you're not used to using pronouns the way a person might want them to be used, should you be apologetic, or is there a proper way to correct it?
I mean, I feel like oftentimes people will like get offended if like you say the wrong pronoun. But I feel like as long, like if you were to like hurt someone wrongly, I feel like as long as you just like corrected yourself and apologized and moved on, it's not like, it doesn't have to be a big deal, you know? It's just like making sure you acknowledge that you were wrong and then fixing it. And then just being done with it. It doesn't have to be like, oh my gosh, I'm so sorry.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Can I say something about that?
Sure.
Whenever I misgender someone or use wrong pronouns, I always like correct myself as soon as I realize and then work on it because a lot of it is about going against social programming and rewriting your thinking and your understanding and how you relate to others.
And I have a lot of transgender friends and there have been sometimes where I'll wrongly like refer to them and I'll be like, sorry, they. You're wrong.
You just don't make a big deal of it.
Yeah, that's what I think I would do.
Questions?
I can just say for things, one is just practice, like on your own time practice, like you're going to practice using, Z or them, like, I guess would it be like, this one belongs to Z, I'm going to give this one to Z, they can just keep practicing, like this song belongs to them, you just practice as much as you want on your own time. And then also, I found just to feel how it feels is if you purposely misgender somebody, like if I'm with the gym, I'm going to continually talk to you as though, oh, she's wearing a nice yellow shirt today. She invited us here. I'm so grateful for her to be able to invite us to this meeting. You can feel that when it's wrong for you. And so that it helps those consistently for people who are being misgendered, that consistent, like it's just a little, so it's like kind of practicing putting yourself in that and then practice it out a little bit.
I have another question. Now that you said that, if you look at this as a trend, as opposed to the right thing to do. Is this a short-term trend, or do you feel that this is something that's with us from now on?
Well, I put the question as like, is it a trend? Because that's what often is asked. To like kind of put down the idea of new pronouns and things. I don't think it's, I mean, I really hope it's not like, I don't think it's like temporary, you know? Like as the world progresses, we're gonna have these new ideas and have new ways for people to feel more comfortable. And I don't think it's gonna like regress back to how it had been, because we're just learning new things constantly. It's not like trending and then eventually it's gonna fade out, I don't think.
It's blossoming.
Right.
It's a blossoming of a whole new dream, a whole new way of being that was previously unacceptable. It's
Yeah.
beautiful to see.
I think what they meant when they said trend, it wasn't that it was like the difference in genders are trending, it's the vernacular, right? And that is an important distinction because, you know, anyone who could do a little deep dive on history knows that there have been trans people across many, not just Native American communities, like many communities, right? And our culture is actually a little bit of a newer culture because it's a part of Western culture, but a lot of it came from European culture. So there's all this it's kind of new, right? And our language is developing. That's how I see it. I'm like, okay, our language is just developing. Because I've talked to older queer people who said, sometimes people even only 10 or 15 years older than me, if I had that vernacular 20 years ago, I would be in a different situation. So it's not the lived experience. It's just that the words are available. And I think in part because of social media.
Yeah.
It's access. It's an access thing.
That's like new though. I remember the battle starting before that. You know, I think that that's kind of one of the beautiful things about what is happening. There is an opportunity in the world to be able to make space for these new changes and stuff like that. But I think the desire has been there for a very long time.
Absolutely.
Great.
I would just like to thank you for a presentation that was very clear and looked at so many of the questions that people have about this. So thank you, and you did a very good job.
Thank you.
You appreciate it very much. Oh, Carol.
Many generations, especially in my generation, is it okay just not to even address the pronouns? I know, but yeah, it is. I can talking to other people in the realm that I'm in. There's confusion on the pronouns, and they're suggesting, well, I'm just not going to address it. We'll just leave it as it is and move on. So they won't say a pronoun for just someone's gender.
No, it is okay to not use pronouns. And I think that everyone needs to individually do their research and understand why people use pronouns and how we should respect people that choose to use the pronouns, but also people that aren't using the pronouns, because there are many different reasons why they may choose not to use pronouns. And there are resources that are on, in the transgender communities, the LGBT websites that do address that. So I think it's an individual journey so that people can research and understand what it is instead of being told different opinions. Because we all have our own opinion, and of course we want to be as persuasive as possible because we believe in these things. But I think that it's an individual journey. From what I've researched.
I just had a comment to that though. As you I don't need pronouns, but I think as a professional, educated person, we ask people how they like to call. I work at the university. I have students want to call me doctor or something. I always tell them, call me guy. That's what I go by. educated in, so that's what I do when I meet people for the first time. So who they are. We see that more. Saying, how do you like to do this? I know this 5 master, which I never liked. And then when I got older, I was Mr. And I said, no, that's my father. So I understand people, they have the pronouns, that's fine. I don't, because, I come from the generation that, I get confused too. I teach history and, I get into class and I'm teaching, say the 1950s, I'll use the term Mexican American and I have eyes that go up and I say, because that's what we called them in the 1950s. We called them that in the 1960s and it changed again later. Right? So, we reflect the time.
When you're saying that you don't use pronoun, are you saying if someone were to say, oh, this guy, he is that wrong? You don't want that to?
But if somebody wants to address it to me, but no, I don't care myself. I'm not saying that that I do recognize other people. That's how they choose.
I'm going nice.
I would love to have the privilege of being called master and then Mr. No. Please don't, use such an honorific with me. It's kind of like one of those things where, there is a lot of privilege. It's like, oh, do we call you doctor? There's a lot of admiration to that. And if that adoration wasn't there, maybe it would be a lot easier to be like, oh, these are just things that are, just of being called by and stuff like that. But with all that adoration, with all that privilege that comes with master, doctor, mister, God, what a lovely life to be able to be referred to so commonly in such a high tone. And I think that what pronouns are doing are trying to bring light to that and trying to bring, inequality forward, a social justice, a way to be able to spread that power to more people.
I have a feeling this could be a long. Gonna have to call it there. Thank you very much.
One closing.
I'm sorry.
Can I do one closing?
Yeah, okay.
Okay. I think it's important that we do up on the numbers. I respect that it can be difficult to change your view or the way you are interacting with people. But the thing is that it's not just a pronoun. That's the thing. For trans people, we are dying. And I really mean, it's not funny. We can sit here and laugh about it in this room together, but that takes away the seriousness of what's happening. And I have found interacting with elders as a younger trans person that anytime they tell me we would prefer to just use your name because the pronoun stuff is too confusing, they're she-bringing behind my back. I use she or pronouns now, okay? So it's fine. But they're using my pronouns behind my back. They're not actually doing it. So what I would say to that is if you have someone who's so committed in their ways that they refuse to respect somebody's identity, then I think they should look at why it is. I really do, because I don't think it's just, I'm confused, I can't learn about this, I don't get it. I think that is only touching the surface and it's not taking these issues seriously. So I need us to do better, not just us in this room, we need everyone to do better.
I completely agree. And that was going to be my follow-up to that, is that if you look from a public health standpoint, you can't afford to not consider that because if people are dying based on not being able to have their identity recognized. And so it becomes more of it's not about a convenience or inconvenience or knowing or not knowing. If you look at the statistics, then the amount, even of a kid that could be saved in high school because one person recognized their correct pronoun, that's a really easy thing to do to save a life. It might feel like an inconvenience to not want to go into, but you're looking at just saving someone or bringing them out of a mental unwellness state, then it's not that difficult to keep them.
I have so many friends that are transgender that have been so strongly affected by stuff like that. It's just, I think it's just easier to inconvenience yourself than to actually be hurting.
Well, I think that we've heard just enough to realize that probably we need to delve into this a little bit more on an individual basis. I want to thank you very much for your presentation. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. Take care.
All right, the next item on the agenda is public comment. This is for items that are not on the agenda. Comments are limited to 3 minutes. Pursuant to the relevant Brown Act, the commission may not act on an item that not appearing on the agenda. Comments received by email will be presented by the chair. And as of this moment, there are none. Is there any public comment tonight? Oh, I think I do see a hand.
Yeah,
Okay. Yeah.
Lost Coast of Populous.
Populist, okay. You got 3 minutes if you can go ahead and make a comment.
Hello, can you hear me?
Not very well.
Let me see if I can get a little closer to the laptop. Is that better?
A little better.
Okay, yeah, I just wanted to talk to something that's going on at the city of Eureka. That any better?
We're gonna adjust the volume because we still can't hear you.
Hello?
Yeah, go ahead.
Now can you hear me?
Speak.
Hello?
Go ahead and try it again.
Hello?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. It's clear.
Yeah. Okay, so you can hear me, right?
Yes.
Okay. Sorry, a little delay there, but anyways, yeah. Talking about
Yes.
yes, I can hear you. Okay, I was talking about something that's going on with the city of Eureka. Like one of their the council members, like I think it's Mario G. Fernandez. He's like a member of this group called Humboldt Grassroots, and they're like housed within the Ink people. So it's a city funded thing, and the Humboldt Grassroots, like on their Twitter page, they have like ties to Antifa. Are you familiar with the Antifa group?
Familiar with it.
They're responsible for like kind of violent protests and stuff across the country. But anyways, it's just concerning that we have local taxpayer money going to fund the Ink people that's housing this Humboldt Grassroots group that's tied to Antifa, like I think the New York chapter of Antifa, that they constantly retweet on their Twitter page. And so if you look at an article out of I think it was down in like San Francisco or something, they talked about how they had had someone infiltrate Antifa and pretty much line out that they are like an organized group, and like they were like talking about doing violent acts against police and stuff like that, and taking down people's addresses to commit vandalism. So I don't know if there's anything that the Human Rights Commission would want to look into that, just on having a local government agency sponsoring that kind of affiliation. And that's pretty much all I have to talk about today here, but thank you.
Thank you very much. Okay, any other public comment? All right, the next item on the agenda is Commission communications. This could be emails or regular mail first. There has been nothing received at the commissioners email address. Are there any commissioner communications? Then the next item would be message line report. First one was Larry. Who's Bert? Okay, followed by
Okay, I had one call from someone, who was saying that neighbors were, harassing, calling names, throwing hatred, so forth, and, in the neighborhood, and they felt that it was escalating and they stopped. They had said that they had tried everything with the sheriff, everything they could think of to do. I suggested that they go to the end of Facebook, and so they said they would do that. A lot of what I listened to was somebody who wanted to vent. Then I had one from someone who said they were having civil harassment. They were trying to get a restraining order. I gave them the 2 legal numbers on our card, and they said they would follow through on that. I had another call from someone who was very concerned about the Jacobs property. Used to be Jacobs in the high school. A disabled person who said that his health was being compromised because they were dumping there, the eyesore, and so forth. They really wanted to vent. He said he was disabled, so I sent him to the Tri-County Independent Living. He said he tried everything he could think of there, that he would call there. There were 2 calls for Jim about the Access Humboldt program, and I sent those to Jim. And one more, this is the one that I think perhaps we need to find out something about. This was in a neighborhood where person who was calling had been had heard noises and things going on at night, and went out and turned her porch light on, and later, another day or so, she was visited by the deputy sheriff and county code compliance, 2 people from that. And they came in, said they had a search warrant, which they didn't show her until after they'd been there. And they went through her house. They would not tell her what they were looking for. They would not tell her what the complaint was. And she was concerned about why they had targeted her. And she felt that it was only because she had turned her light on when something was going down on the next, where these people who had harassed her. So, and she was concerned about the code compliance group. There were 2 people, and she said they came with guns, and it was a big raid kind of thing. And we might want to know what is the code compliance, and how does that get triggered, and is that something that sometimes is out of line?
ask a question. Is that connected to the first one?
No,
No. Is this within the city of Eureka, or is it in the county?
that it was a neighborhood. I don't know.
They have a search warrant.
Yes, she
Show-
said that they did have a search warrant, which they showed after they'd come in with their guns drawn and all kinds of stuff. So I mean, I just listened to what she said, and if everything she said was exactly as she said it certainly didn't sound as if it was anything we wanted in our county. But no, I don't know.
You know, there's been a lot of issues with code compliance, especially in marijuana grow. But they have been reported, and actually, I believe there's a lawsuit against the county. So stuff going on because of code compliance in this outrageous fee fines that they're people.
Well, one
So,
of
you
them,
know, my suggestion, there's a couple things. I think, you know, they're now being handled by the county sheriff's as opposed to the planning department.
she said, the deputy sheriff and two code of compliance people that came in with guns drawn and, you know, I mean, it sounded like they were doing a surprise raid kind of
Sure.
thing.
But
And
has she gone and attempted to file?
I don't know whether she followed through. I suggested
Yeah,
that
that's-
she do that and that she go to the sheriff's department and complain and ask to see the sheriff himself, not the deputy. And I suggested that she go, not call or send a paper or anything. She actually go to the sheriff's department and ask to speak to her. And yes, she would do that. I don't know whether anybody is, did you get any more calls?
No.
Okay. Then I guess she did that.
Well, on the first one, you had made me aware of that particular one where the lady felt she was being racially profiled and
Yes.
harassed. I did go to the police department on that one as well, because I wanted to make sure she had actually communicated with them, and they were very aware of her. So they wouldn't give me any more information than that, but at least I knew, yes, she did do that part of it, so that was good.
Well, thank you. But when we had our meeting on May the 4th, and I reported no messages, and then it happened. Long messages.
No messages passed on to me. I got one phone call. It was somebody in a male, in the jail.
You lucked out there.
Yeah, I'll talk about that a little bit maybe. Am I next year?
You may as well go ahead now.
Okay, yeah, I've heard. I essentially had two inmate calls. One was actually not from our message line, but was from a letter received by the program administrator coordinator there at the jail. Both of them dealt with human rights issues. The one was a transgender individual, and was feeling that because of that fact, he was being, or she, or whatever, was not being treated fairly, had an issue, and things weren't getting done that she thought or he thought were supposed to be getting done, and messages weren't being relayed, things like that. But again, she or he had not seen this file grievance. So, that was my recommendation. The other one was a guy is pretty much acting out, not wanting to go back into his cell when he was told to do so, and apparently one of the corrections officers, went over and threw him down into the cell, and it was a very scary thing for the guy. Again, those are the kind of things with my role, or would be is to talk with the liaison about that. If the person that's making the complaint or the allegations wants me to do that, neither of these gentlemen people wanted me to do that. So that's all I really had. One call on our line and one other call for other gentleman, person that I spoke with.
Larry, it occurs to me that yes, they didn't ask you to pursue it, but it does seem like, given the fact we just had this presentation, it seems a reasonable thing for us to understand how the sheriff's office handles things like that. Do they even ask the question, what is your gender or your pronoun?
And what are the laws in California?
Yeah, that would be good to know, because they may inadvertently be violating a code.
I'll talk with them about how they deal with gender and pronouns.
I think that would be good, and in light of what we just learned. I think
I'll be happy to do that and report you back that. One other thing I wanted to mention is that Kim has volunteered to speak with female inmates, and I had sent you a copy of the mission or the form that you have to fill out for.
Confidentiality.
Yeah, did you get that in?
I did fill it out and I don't think it emailed, so I'll go back and check. But I have.
That hasn't been any real needed.
Yeah. I have. It'll get on to her. at some point.
Might be better if you spoke to the person. Bill, you want to do advocacy on behalf of women.
Yeah, I mean, that's interesting because the liaison that set up the phone call did not even, mention anything about, he, and gave me his mail. And then when we got off.
Yeah.
I do think there's something good to pursue there.
Yeah, well, education at the very least. Yeah,
Really. Okay. Just a reminder, Guy might not be so lucky. You're up right now.
If you send me a message, let them know, yeah.
And then Ellen follows. You've done this before, so we don't need tutoring. We would be looking for the August 1st through the 15th for a volunteer and 16th through the 31st.
They can do the first.
Okay. And I'll take the,
I'll jump on here.
you want to do it again?
On the 16th.
Yeah. Okay.
And then Jim, I think me and you and Aaron, we're gonna do like a review so that we still want to do it. So we move to a place. Oh yeah, I know those stuff.
Who wants to be involved in that? Alyssa and
I think Aaron, but I'm not sure.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
I will, I'll get in touch with you and set something. It's pretty simple, but kind of helps
Just
to
go
hear.
over it, yeah.
Okay. Aaron, Nazanin, and
That's the
Alyssa.
biggest problem.
Are you gonna set that up soon? Well, I was just thinking that maybe, it'd be good, once, I'd be happy to trade places, go later on in the year, if one of the new folks that haven't had an opportunity.
That's off, that's a ways off. Why don't we take? One of the, yes, I do see what you're getting at. Does anybody else want to volunteer for August 16th to the 31st? We will definitely have the training before that.
Well, we can do it this way too. You can put me in there and then on the training, say, if one of you, one of the new folks want to take care. How's that?
I will communicate with all of you. All right. Standing committee reports. We just have one standing committee now. Just remind everybody of that. That's the Sanctuary Ordinance Committee, and I'm assuming
We didn't meet, but we weren't quiet. It was over at Cal Poly. I met with Fernando Paz for about 10 minutes, and two things we talked about. One was to try to get somebody, possibly one of the students, to join our committee here. This is all we have to be is 18, and that's fine. And so he's looking, so forward, maybe by the fall, we'll actually have some campus also representing, unity. The other, I asked him, if there were any issues, and he said that there are continuing issues. He wasn't very specific. I asked him for details. I'm still waiting for that. He did say, I know that the community garden has been attacked multiple times. And fairly recently again. But I also got the impression some other issues that he had, so I'm hopeful I get to discuss that.
Was he clear that we do have standing committee on
Yeah.
sanctuary?
Yeah.
Because I'm concerned that maybe there is a lot going on not hearing about.
It's very-
That's unfortunate.
Well, I think it's very likely, I don't want to go back into our pronouns again, but I do think there is a real concern with a number of people in the community. They're leery of having witness.
Yes.
Or with any government body for that matter, not a large trust factor. So,
We need to find a way to break through that.
yeah. Part of, I think what's helped me, at least with sanctuary, is that, I haven't gone to church. I haven't gone to meet with people. And I tried to make sure I made those steps out there, to let them know that we're serious. It's not just a phone call or an email. I've gone over there to meet people with them personally. But get them with us. So,
Being a part of the disability community and the mental health community, I'm on the autism spectrum, and have very mental health disabilities and have been working with our groups working as a disability community for the past 3 years. On top of that, I mastered in social work, social justice for Indigenous peoples at HSU. And in all that time, the number one thing I learned about being able to connect to vulnerable communities is to make yourself vulnerable as well. And to open up and to be honest and caring and show who you are. And then lay it all out and allow for them to fill in the space if they wish it. And it would be wonderful. I do it every day with the disability community. I always tell everything honestly as best as possible to say, I can entirely love you and accept you for who you are. So I don't know what's the socially acceptable way of doing that and how you go about it, but that's what I.
Opportunity should exist perhaps to Fernando himself would like to be a presenter here sometime or somebody that he would recommend. Might be something we could pursue. Okay, anything else on sanctuary? Next items are the ad hoc committee reports. First being cultural awareness with Carol and Larry. And does anything happen?
No, sorry about that. Go on.
Is that something we think we can?
And then one of the suggestions was to ask the students to bring out clubs, what they talk about regarding cultural. One of how I don't know that we can assess.
Not until fall. Okay. Next one is homelessness and behavioral health. Back to you, Guy.
Yeah, we have, again, just a couple of quick announcements. As I mentioned, I think last time, it seems that county, city, state, federal government all actively involved trying to do something, although there's still questioning money doing any good. I did want to comment just two things. We have two events that are coming up right now on Saturday, so 2 days. Synapsis is having a theater performance and homelessness at 7 o'clock in the theater. worthwhile. That's here locally. And then also locally on Sunday, that was just in the news today, I haven't had a chance to look into it deeply, but Eureka's Town Hall on homelessness. It's third meeting that they've had.
I think it's early afternoon. Okay, thank you. The next item is the commission logo. Unfortunately, this is hanging in the air because Dotso has resigned from the commission, but she is still willing to wrap that project up. As far as I know, the individual has paid for the winning entry, but we have yet to see the finished product. We'll try to make sure that that happens at the July meeting.
Jim,
Yes.
are we, if the commission, majority of the commission was unhappy with that final product, do we have to use it? I mean, we won the contest, but I personally was very unhappy. That, and I don't know, I think the one we have better. So I'm just curious if that is, if we have to accept it and use it full time on everything that we produce.
Well, like anything else, we can always reconsider previous actions.
Well,
And if when we see what the final product looks like, that would be the time to have that discussion. Okay. Next one, there's a lot of things up in the air right now. The Human Rights PSA committee, sorry, we lost our participant. Wouldn't be interested at any rate. We are making progress. We will initially start with 6 different PSA announcements, one of which will be from the commission, one from the NAACP, one for Humboldt, one from the Tri-County Independent Living, and one from Temple Bethel. So we'll have a cross section. We hope that when those PSAs start getting aired, which should be first to mid part of July, that will stir more activity on the part of some of the groups that just didn't follow through. They said they were interested, but then we never heard it. The television station that we dealt with is very excited about creating a production plan. We're learning one thing, that the information that's been supplied to us is far more than will fit in a 30-second PSA, and it needs to be brief, really down to the point. And we're getting some good advice. I wish that we could have had some information TV station by tonight, but they haven't got that together. Probably it'll be sometime early next week. But I think we're going to have a good finished product when all is done.
Well, I gotta say, with Tracy's involvement, that's absolutely probably going to happen.
Oh yeah, I agree.
Yeah, it's like you're working powerhouse, to get it going, and she's, doing a lot of the content work, and it's just brilliant.
Yeah, she's most of you probably haven't even met Tracy, but she's been working on this project. She's just a volunteer, and she's a smart volunteer.
Yes.
How are they getting rolled out? Once a week, or?
Well, that's what the television station is going to propose. They're going to say, you're going to spend this amount of money for production, but they're public service announcements. So they're basically going to go into a rotation. It will start with a Redwood Newsmakers presentation. I don't know if I'm going to be the one doing that or not, but I could be, to introduce the whole concept. Then they will be in rotation. I think they're promising we'll have at least one PSA during every news broadcast, which is one of their higher viewership programs, and then throughout the day. And all 6 will rotate. And I don't know the final number of times, but I'm hoping it's going to be substantial. Initially channel 3 and channel 6, and possibly access on.
TV also?
But
We also get on TV.
Tracy works, maybe we wrangle something out.
That would be awesome. I didn't know you were. Okay.
She does her own interview program.
Oh, I thought she used to. Okay,
I think it's 2.
awesome. Okay.
All right. So that's about all we have on that for the moment. Next committee is Indigenous People. And I have a hunch there's nothing to report. All right.
I'm going to the Trinidad Rancheria Health Fair this Saturday for Tri-County Living, and also the Humboldt Health Fair, which is great.
Yes.
So we're expanding our connection into the Rancheria, which would be a fabulous.
I think that's wonderful. The next committee is Human Trafficking and Eradication. Just wanted to remind you that we did act as a sponsor for the recent event at Blue Lake Rancheria, and apparently they had a sold out attendance. So that was one good place to assist them. Next one is Junior Human Rights Commission. Jamie obviously let me know that she couldn't be here tonight, but she promises that there will be a meeting prior to the next general meeting in July, and we'll have something to report at that time. Okay. Next item is unfinished business. And I think I would like to turn this over to Bird if she's willing.
Yes.
Because it is the election of officers. So I'll just up for a minute.
Well, Jim appointed Larry and me to take care of this, and they sent out a message to everyone in which we said what each of the officers does as designated in our bylaws. And we sent a list of all commissioners who were eligible for an officer role. And there are 2 people who were not yet eligible because they have to be, according to our bylaws, must be on the commission for 6 months before you are elected. So it's not personal, it's just that those of you who need to have a few more months under your belt first. So there were only 5 people who sent nominations to us, and that included Jim and Larry and me.
You guys know for yourselves.
Participation is very much appreciated.
But before there's a vote, nominations may be made from the floor, provided the person nominated has agreed to serve if elected. So I would like to move the adoption of the slate of Chair Jim Glover, Vice Chair Kim Wiley, Treasurer Guy Aronoff, Secretary Ellen Murphy.
Second. I got a question.
And now discussion or any
Okay.
other.
Now you
Did everybody nominate themselves? Like, is this something that everybody wants?
Not necessarily.
Everyone who is on this slate agreed to serve if they are elected. There were some people who were nominated who said they would not serve, and so they are not on this list because they did not agree to serve.
Okay.
So, it doesn't matter whether somebody nominated themselves or someone else nominated.
But the people who are here want to be.
The people who are here agreed to be here.
Okay, awesome. That's all I wanted to know.
Any further discussion? I'll let you cut.
Well, according to our bylaws, it's supposed to be written. But since there's no competition, I think it's all right that, we just ask for a show of hands and that it's recorded that, everybody's vote by name.
So we're voting on the slate.
On the slate, yes. Unless someone wants it changed differently, but I propose the total slate.
Is there any discussion on that idea?
If we can call for the vote.
Okay, well, the motion is to approve slate of officers for the new term. All those in favor of the slate as presented, please indicate by raising your hand.
No.
No hands up.
That's all work to do.
All right, well, thank you very much.
You need to, record that in the minutes by name. All the other names. Violence.
Okay, that is the only thing under unfinished business. Under new business, we have a number of items. I think we'll be okay time-wise. The first item on the list is the hate speech resolution that was issued by the Board of Supervisors. And the question is, would we want to follow up on that in any formal manner? I was present when they adopted it. I was not there representing the commission. I was there just representing myself. But we could take some formal action.
I would think that a letter to them commending them for taking that act and asking if there's something that we can do with perhaps some suggestions of education and for to help them implement this. I mean, you have an ordinance, but if you don't do anything with it, what good does it do?
Yes.
I haven't read this. Rather than something
I'm sorry, what?
I haven't read this hate speech resolution. Has anybody else?
Yeah.
So, and the other, maybe it's too mild. Maybe we should,
Well,
right?
it has been, just for clarification, it has been adopted. Not that doesn't mean they couldn't say something.
We could write a letter if it's something that we don't like. We still write a letter saying, we don't really think it's appropriate. And I'm just throwing that out there. I'm not saying we have to go that.
Maybe we should read it.
That's a good idea.
It was in the paper and I read about it. I didn't read it word for word, but I think it would be a good idea to send it out. I think that even if we think it should go further, Larry, I think we should commend them for taking some kind of action. If we want to suggest something else in it, we can do that in our letter. But if we don't say, we're glad you took some kind of action, then we're not helping them.
I'm not opposed to that, but I want to read it.
Well, yes, I think everybody should read it.
Well, I can make sure that everybody gets a digital version of what was adopted.
Was it unanimously adopted?
Yes. The question would be, is this something we want to revisit at the next meeting? Or is it something we could deal with sooner than?
I think we need to all read it then.
You're next, and Bert.
I, for all intents and purposes, do not agree with this individual, but they reported that they felt like that their, the hate speech which by the BOS was hate speech. And I'm not saying that I think that's a possibility. I'm just saying for myself, I absolutely have to read it first.
That's fine. There's no reluctance. I just didn't know if time was a factor.
I think time is a factor.
Yeah, I kind of lean that way
Yeah.
too.
I agree.
So we all read it by.
Hang on, one person at a time.
I think what would be the best thing is for Jim, for you to send out the wording for everybody to read, and at the same time, for you to send a draft letter. You've already spoken to the board, and many people have commented that what you said was appropriate. So I think that you could send a draft, and we could all take a look at that, and then at the July meeting, you can confirm it and send it immediately.
Is that agreeable to everybody?
Sure.
Okay,
Or so.
we will do. Anything else on that item?
Will reading it on Monday be okay? Will reading it by Monday be okay?
That was for them, yes. Yes, if that will be fine.
Okay,
We're not going to take any action until July.
okay.
Next item was a consideration of a proposed internship that would aid in improved outreach and the development of broader commission activities. And this was
Yep,
YouTube.
and.
They have on and farms.
Right. I think we could do it. I'm trusted him, but.
Oh, that's the same as me. I've seen it before.
Even I think it was so fast with him.
I'm just looking at some resolution online, and then I clicked on it, and it says it's been deleted from the site. It's very good. Nice to know. It's really good. Maybe it's technology, no? Record no longer exists.
Where did you go for it?
For the county, they have a link.
Probably in
They probably
introduce.
It's always helpful.
Okay, this is the plan. I think we started talking yet.
How?
So,
Minute that.
and I'm giving it back again. So now we're in a loop. Ellen and I were talking, because as you all know, like I've been just pondering and thinking about different ideas to get, broadly, I would say just to get the commission more involved in our community and our community more involved in our commission so that we could do some of the work that we said we want to do. So I'm just brainstorming different ways that, you know, we could get that done. And Ellen knows of a program. You know about the program?
So it's an adult work experience program that is funded by the California Community.
Yes, so they pay people to do internships. Because I was already going to do this work for free, right? But if I could get like money or access to technology to support me in doing that, that would be awesome. Especially a computer, because I believe a lot of it is going to be like online and media related stuff. So for everyone, I think the most important part is mostly just the task, my plan and the tasks. That's like what it would look like. You want to take a minute to do that?
It's not banned.
It's just a matter of
I think what it is. Put your TikTok.
Yeah. I would say. You Yes.
So how would we apply for this money or for an intern or what's the?
I don't think we have to do anything other than say, we think this is cool, go for it. And then me, and actually Ellen is not gonna be working with me on this,
Because-
someone else is.
Want to,
That's a good.
ethical boundary,
Yeah.
so I no longer.
So I'll just continue on in the process with the Department of Rehabilitation. And then I will put this to that program and they will say yes, or they will say no, I guess, but I think they will say yes. So it might take some time, like it might be but we meet once a month anyway, that's.
We'll probably need a signature publicly from.
So would they be willing to give it to a member of our commission?
Yes, well, they would give it to me specifically because I'm the one who is applying.
But it wouldn't matter that you're on the commission. Or not
That's
on
not a
the
conflict.
that has no bearing on it.
Yeah. It's not a conflict that I'm here, working for tech.
No.
No.
No, that's why I think it's like. the
So
same
it
thing.
should be, yeah, that's, yeah.
Uses.
There's no question that a lot of the things you listed here are weaknesses of
Right,
the group.
You know,
Some of them exist.
that if you're having an employee focusing
yeah,
on
basically.
this would be awesome.
Yeah.
I'm, whether she's, I would be a little bit concerned about conflict of interest, but as long as, you include yourself on the issues that are
The issues still have to be approved by the.
great, I think,
Yeah, there shouldn't be any issues.
I would think that.
No.
My question would be, how long-term is this?
Well, if she did it up to 300 hours, so if I only did a couple of hours a week, it's 1 to 2 years.
That's a good start.
That's awesome.
Right.
Yeah.
And also, like, I do plan to continue being on the commission at this point for the foreseeable future. Our term is 4 years, so like I'm in it, you know what I mean?
Is it renewable?
I have no idea.
That can be a sticky situation from everything that I've learned about it, that your tasks would have to be substantially
Different.
So
So you'd have to pivot.
Because I'm trying to prove to them that doing this work builds my resume to get me like the most perfect job.
What if you take on some of these tasks and save them for later?
Something we could discuss. I mean, 1 to 2 years. I think it depends on like, because even if I'm doing the work, I still want it to be a really like group oriented project. Like I want everyone's opinions on what we're doing or what we're going to get involved in. You know what I mean? So I have no idea how long I'm going to spend on it every week.
If you want everybody's opinions, you're gonna have to increase that by a lot.
I know.
Well, initially you may have more time in it and you might.
Yeah, because it might be like that. It might be like that as well. There might be some weeks or months where I'm like working on it a lot. And because if some of it is like in my mind, what I'm planning to do is just establish a much more structured social media presence. And then that's like the first part. And the second part is like getting our name and our resources to the community. And the third part is like getting the community in here to participate, right? Because that will create that loop of continuity. And I think you said something earlier about like some people in the community being upset. I do think we have a reputation that we could do some mending, is what I will say. And I think this is a good way to try and do that. To try and connect the community members to see if they have grievances or we can do things better. Like I just think it'll take us to the next level.
I agree.
Yeah. So if that's what we want to do, we should do it.
So how do we go about doing this?
I think I don't know. But you were gonna tell us. I think we could just say yes, it's a good idea, right?
yeah,
I think,
Go ahead.
I would think that the commission should agree that you move ahead and
Yeah.
report back in July, whatever you found out and where you are in the process.
Okay.
Is this project you want to do by yourself or do you need help?
I
Would it
don't,
require a committee, for instance?
no, I don't, not at this stage, no. It's just gonna be me working with like DOR. If you want someone to work with me for like accountability or anything, that's fine with me.
That wasn't what I was thinking.
Okay. No, I don't think there's anything for it right now.
Well, then I think we would be entertaining a motion to establish. Well, we'll have discussion.
Okay, got it.
Motion first and second.
Yes.
Okay,
So is there a motion to pursue this project? Okay, I think Guy moved and Bert.
Can you give it to us again, Bert?
Guy moved the adoption of this project, seconded by Bird. Is up to speed.
what's the project?
To develop an internship in conjunction with the Department of Rehabilitation. Now, is there any discussion?
Yes.
Say that.
Is this enough? Is like hours you're thinking of doing and the money you're gonna get for it, is that and also civic pride, is that enough to sustain you and that you'll feel good about what you're doing, you'll feel good about this and you'll feel rewarded?
I was gonna do this for free.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I said that a couple times, because I've been talking about this for like almost the whole time that I've been here. Like I got in a month or two in, I was like, I have to make some structure here to make some goals. I have a job outside of this, so it's full-time-ish, but yeah, I think, and also it's like, I just put these numbers here. Me and whoever I end up working on this with will be appropriate when discussing what they should. But it's gonna be like pennies no matter what, because it's gonna be a few hours.
Right.
It's just a cool situation.
Yeah.
Like, that's how I feel about it. I feel really blessed and lucky that Ellen and I are so smart. Literally.
Lucky.
I know. It's a really cool opportunity, I think. So.
Awesome, okay.
Keep one thing in mind, any project like this isn't person specific.
Yeah.
It might be Nazanin at this moment, but if the project has a life of its own, that could change over time.
Yeah.
And just like any position we have within the organization.
Yes.
Okay.
I guess any further discussion? Okay, all those in favor of adopting the proposal?
Jim, I'm sorry, Jim. I think I should repeat myself. No, I'm not. Nazanin's,
Abstain.
I just think that's
Okay,
before we go. That's fine.
okay, transparency is a good thing. Okay, all those in favor of adopting the proposal, please indicate by raising your hand. How are you voting? Abstain. Okay, so there are 7 yes and 2 nay. Any nays? Abstention. 2. Okay, there are 2 abstentions. All right, that is a good one. Yeah.
That's why she. Only if she says, actually, an abstention is an indication that you should not be part of that vote. A lot of people use abstention just because they don't want to commit. And technically, that's really not the way you should do it. But what Ellen did was she recused herself and said she could not be part of it.
That's not taking a position. It's taking a position not to take any
Well,
position.
it's saying that she is not in a position to vote. because of it, as you said, transparent.
Okay. Next item on the agenda is.
So does that have-
Yes,
Okay.
and please let us know what or if we can help.
Yeah.
In any way. Next item on the agenda is possible Southern Humboldt outreach meeting. We've done this before. We haven't done it in a long time. We've met in Garberville before to try to show that Southern Humboldt community that they are part of the county. It is difficult because that's why we don't have Dotso any longer. The travel is hard. But we have some funding available now. Question is this something we would like to pursue, having a meeting of the commission in Southern Humboldt? That's what I want to bring up. Bert?
Whether it's the full commission or it's 4 people, I think it's a really good idea for us to be there and be seen down there. It might be difficult to have the whole commission there, but when we did it before, we had 4 people, but we didn't have a quorum. And that was effective too. So I think we could entertain either one way. Sure, let's see what we're doing.
I think the thing we should be doing then is establishing an ad hoc committee to make the contacts and so forth. Southern Humboldt. I would be happy to serve on that committee. I'd like at least one more person. Is that a question or a volunteer?
Question.
Go ahead.
In one of the other boards I'm on, they are giving a stipend to the chair of the board who travels from Southern Humboldt, participate, pay for their gas. And I just wanted to bring up is what would be more important, like possibly having so,
Oh,
or is, you know,
well, we would have to amend our bylaws for one thing. And I
okay.
think that would have to be approved by the board of supervisors.
To do what?
If we provided a stipend for somebody traveling regularly from a distant place like Huboldt or.
We probably would.
Yeah,
No, but we could pay gas for going down for one meeting.
Yeah.
As our expense
Yeah, we've got two
of that
different-
meeting.
Issues going here. at the same
got it.
time. I would like to establish an ad hoc committee and like a volunteer to work with me on it. Okay. We'll report back at the next meeting and what we've accomplished.
Just suggestion that, the supervisor, what's her,
Michelle
Michelle, involved in trying to get something like that set up. It would
She'd
be
probably
really
be very happy to do that.
beneficial for her to do that. Now, I'll give you the name of the chamber of classes.
Down there. Oh, okay, good. All right, well, we'll have a report back for you at the next meeting.
What's the name of your ad hoc?
Oh, what is the name of Southern Humboldt Outreach? Well,
That would take the Lane Foundation.
oh, I like your thinking. Yes. It's now the Eel River Valley.
All right.
It's small. The point was made.
And on that subject, we have until when to,
December 31st. Thanks to Bert
yes.
You're welcome.
and her relationship.
So we do have time to make this work, so that's good.
But that's a pretty hard and fast date now.
Yeah, oh, yeah.
I'm sure, yeah.
Because it must be finished.
That's awesome.
Okay. Next item is equity training for the commission. I believe that was asking you as well.
Just briefly, more stuff like this.
We do have one person, Tiffany.
Tiffany Lapoon.
What's the last name?
Under future agenda.
Oh, Tim. I don't know who this person is. Can somebody help me?
I referred her to you a few months back, and I don't have the cell phone I use for. But she is with a homeless advocacy group that helps with like legal issues. I can't recall the exact name, but I had provided before I can send it to them.
Please, that would be helpful. So that will be our July speaker, but back to the point. Anybody that has people in mind have that can be speakers that are relevant to human rights issues. I'd like to have you bring those forward. Yes.
Do we have money
Do we have money?
for the speaker?
$6,000. Yeah.
But we're not anxious to spend it all.
Well, no, I'm just wondering because I know that Equity Arcata does training.
Well, would you like to explore?
Well,
Sure, it's
well,
good.
Would you like to explore what possibilities?
That would be accepted in grant.
yeah.
Oh, yes. I see
I
what you-
think we need to be really careful. I think if there were a group in, the Deal River Valley that does something like that and we paid them, that might be something that would be acceptable, but they're pretty strict, aren't they, Guy? And they look very carefully at what we're doing because their purpose is to do things in Deal River Valley.
Not of the fund we're getting from the county.
Yes, yes.
Okay, then I'm gonna look into it.
Okay. Take this a step further. How did I spell compensation? Yeah. Next item was compensation for human rights PSA project. I'm 100% sure what you had in mind, but again,
Well, it's kind of on, I feel like it's kind of on the way, like a project happening. And I don't remember when I said that, but I remember thinking when I said it, that it would be good incentive to get people involved in the project. But at this point, I feel like,
I don't think it's going to be needed.
yeah, or also maybe for a future project, just an idea, but I don't think we need to spend too much time on it.
Okay. All right, well, that covers the business. Are there agenda items that anybody would like to put on the next meeting, at the next meeting that you'd like to share with us now?
Just to be sure that you have the ones we've talked about today. Internship, a letter to the board of supervisor, and Southern Humboldt. And actually, yeah, for the whole project.
This will be on as whole business.
And the diversity, equity, and inclusion training. Equity training.
Oh, yeah.
I'll get us some I do it.
Okay.
Oh, if I get something from jail in terms of training that they have or concern transgender, however we want to do, I'll establish, get that information before the next meeting.
Yeah, I'll include that topic.
And I think along with that is we can also ask the officer there, correctional officer, is in Garcia.
Yeah.
So, okay, if we can we, since you're the liaison, well, you're the go-between, you discuss things with her?
Yeah.
Because I'm wondering if maybe we can set up even just a protocol where they identify as, individual identifies with another gender, or, you know, there's someone that says they're transgender and they prefer female, to speak with. Maybe we can set up that.
Yeah, I can.
So I think that's easier than some of the other things.
Yeah.
That's just,
Especially if that's, you know, you're gonna get your application.
right.
I think that's an excellent idea.
Bert?
We have on here discussed ways to address and intervene on high numbers of murdered women. And we've also talked about human trafficking. I understand that there's been a national something just on human trafficking. And I think maybe we should find out what that is and if there's any way that we can use that to do something. There's something that has just happened, and I don't know exactly.
Do you know what agency is involved?
I thought it was HHS, but I'm not sure.
But it
And
was,
also, under IHS, we did one.
well, this was national, came out of a report from the White House, so I don't know exactly what it is, but it would be worth finding out about, because human trafficking is one of the things that we've been very concerned about, and many of the murdered women have been
Traffic first.
trafficked first. So I would like to see us find out something about that and see if there's any way that we can.
The National Action Plan to Combat Human Trafficking.
Yeah.
There we go.
National Action Plan to what?
Combat.
Shall include that as well. I'll check into it before the next meeting.
It's on the White House document.
All right, is there anything else that anybody needs to bring up tonight?
I was just gonna say, I do think we can talk about those things together. The more like high number of murdered women and sort of trafficking, yeah.
Okay, well, the chair will entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Thank you all very, very much.